The Guardians' attempt to come back into the playoff picture in the American League becomes a little bit smaller after a loss to Kansas City, while a former top prospect is on the verge of a long-awaited comeback.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Come on into today's Locked On Guardians. Boy, we have a lot to talk about on today's show. And this is the only show where you're getting Cleveland Guardians talk 5 days a week, from the majors to the minors, the draft, and everything in between. We do it for a half hour. It is our favorite half hour. I hope it's yours as well. I'm Justin Lada. Been here since October of 2022 with you, my friend and co-host Jeff Ellis. And I've been covering the Guardians minor league system for the last 18 years. I think my 18-year run at Lake County, at least this year, ended on Tuesday night.
That is unfortunate. What is not unfortunate is I'm here. I don't know. I felt very aggrandizing. I apologize, everyone. I am Jeff Ellis. I've been here for nearly 1,600 episodes now of Locked On Guardians. For that, I was national writer at Scouting 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. And a big shout out to all of our everydayers. As I mentioned, John Fagan is one of our most comments all time on the channel. The K leftist is number 3. And, next week I'll have the top 5 altogether. But I want to thank all those people who are joining us every day. We love having you here as part of the daily discussion in the comments on the, all the places you can contact us.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of fun things to talk about today. We'll talk about the Arizona Fall League and one former top prospect who is trying to make a big comeback. We'll talk about the Guardians' bid for a playoff spot, and if it's better to chase down the final wildcard spot, or if they should be focused on draft positioning. We'll start off today's show, though, talking about how costly this loss could be in that bid for a playoff spot. Today's episode of Locked On Guardians brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit number 5, HEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Jeff, there's been a lot of losses this year. We've had the 10-game losing streak. The Guardians 1-9 at 10-game stretch. So that's 1-19 if you combine those two stretches. If the Guardians end up not making the playoffs, you'll look back at that and say, well, that was probably more than likely the killer of the season, in addition to the hits they took from the not disciplinary discipline from the 2 pitchers who will not be named on this episode. But given where the Guardians are right now, given how they've played, given the standings, given the series, this one feels like it's going to be costly in this moment because the Guardians had a chance to win this game. They could have won the game had they had better fundamentals, made some better decisions, and they didn't. So I think in the moment, this one's also going to sting because the problem right now for the Guardians is that they were not getting any help either. So they're in this position because of themselves, but they're also chasing 2 teams who refuse to lose right now. The Texas Rangers and the Seattle Mariners have come back from a disastrous road trip to get back to their winning ways. And the Texas Rangers, they're hanging around like cockroaches like the Guardians are too. They refuse to say die. So the Guardians needed a win just to keep pace. And they unfortunately, stubbed their toe a little bit and some self-inflicted wounds made it hard for them to win this one.
Yeah. Just overall, if you listen to the game like I do with the screen and Tom Hamilton, you got some Harry Potter trivia, and you also heard a lot about how this team has not won 6 games in a row all year. That is a big thing that has not happened. And tonight was the chance to win 6 games in a row, and it didn't happen. They haven't really, it takes me back to, 2 years ago when they had their struggles. This team is better than the 2 years ago team. But remember that team, only had 2 sweeps all year, one against the Rangers and one against maybe Oakland. I can't remember what it was.
It was Oakland and the Nationals. Yeah.
No, well, it
was the Rangers.
The Rangers. They swept the Rangers the year that they won the World Series, which is that made that stand out. But yeah, they, it's the inability to kind of get that nice long stretch going. They've had some good runs, but just winning a bunch. In this game, I spent the last, few days talking about, hey, you got into their bullpen. You faced Jonathan Bolin, who led this one off, who faced in the first game of the series as part of that, and Zerpe, who they actually hit up pretty well, and had to go and get another reliever the other day. And for me, this game had 2 frustration tipping points that really just drove me nuts. One was, Manzardo, as you pointed out when we were discussing it, left-hand bat at the plate, and who's been their best hitter in the second half. You got runners on first and second. You have a guy who's throwing out over 40% of guys who are attempting to steal, and there's just no reason at all to do a double steal. And since it was a double steal, that I believe you don't see that's got to come from the manager. It's got to come from the box, right? Like, players aren't going to be able to coordinate that. So the double steal attempt, Kwan gets thrown out because of course he's going to get thrown out. It's easier to throw to a third, especially when there's not, a right-hander in the box. Kyle Manzardo then hits a home run, I believe, on the next pitch. This game would have been an extra innings if they don't do that dumb double steal. Why are you even risking it? Like, Kwan runs well. There's no need for it. Like, it was unnecessary. And then, you and I were texting, and I'm like, okay, like, Festa did his job. He hasn't been as bad as we, is kind of the gut feeling has been all year. I'm like, you got to go to Sabrowski. And I'm like, oh no, Heron's up. And it's like, I know Sabrowski hasn't been as strong of late, but like,
you've been stronger than Heron this year.
Heron's been just bad. And like, this is an important game. Every game is like a playoff game from here on out. You can't lean on Heron in that situation. And it blew up in your face because Jack Caglione never walks. And he managed to walk because Heron wasn't close to the zone. Then Heron leaves the ball up and the game is tied. I understand you're going in. It's a degree of smartness to go for the left-handed pitcher because it was 3 lefties in a row. But at some point you have to just send your best guys out. And I wouldn't have sent out Gaddis because, the top of the lineup is their 2 best hitters. It's Mikhail Garcia, who hit the double to give them the lead and essentially give them the win, and Bobby Witt. So you kind of want your righty there, if you're going to save Cade Smith. And again, this is one of those games where I know you don't want to name Class A, but this is a game they lose because of Emmanuel Class A. This is another one you could put, because in a typical setting, Cade Smith goes out there, blows those guys away. You then go to Gaddis, you go to Class A, and you win. Like, this is 100% another game, and it won't show up in terms of WAR and things like that. But it's like, you can lay about 5 losses. This team would be the 3rd wild card if Class A didn't decide to give up tens of millions of dollars for, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, that is just going to stay frustrating to me from here on out. But going to Heron didn't make the most sense. I honestly would have rather seen Junis there, who for whatever reason they've decided not to pitch, and then they finally did in this game, or go to Sabrowski. But I thought those were just boneheaded decisions, and they didn't play a clean sheet in this game. The defense had some moments, and yeah, you got to do more against the bullpen. But like, those 2 decisions were just maddening to me. Maybe pull out what little hair I have left.
Yeah, and the disappointing thing is that we talked about this after game 1, is that they got into the Royals bullpen early on with that big win to start the series. So them throwing a bullpen game on Wednesday here was not ideal for that situation, right? So they had chances to really make a dent, and then they cost themselves. Now you have to score more than 3 runs to win. I don't think this, 4 runs is generally what the magic number for this team has been. It's what the magic number is for most teams in Major League Baseball. However, given this team's offense, when you have a 3-2 lead, you've got to make it stand up. That's just how this team has to win. So when you get that lead, you have to protect it. So yeah, Kwan getting thrown out cost them a run, and he cost them a run defensively, which is weird too, because he makes that throw home, and there was no chance he was going to get Tolbert, and then Bo Naylor decides to sail a throw into center field on the runner going to second base, who wouldn't have gone to second base if Kwan had just thrown to second, and then Garcia doubled, and maybe Lofton scores from first anyway on the Garcia double, but Kwan probably has a better chance to throw out Lofton at home than he does Tyler Tolbert from second base, because Lofton's coming from first base. So those two incidents, the Kwan base running thing, or if that's coming from the dugout, and then the throw to home, and then Bo Naylor sailing the ball in the center field, that cost you the game. In addition to just wasting opportunities offensively. And yeah, the bullpen management was a little bit strange. Heron's not been good this year. The lack of a reliable lefty this year has really hurt them. Overall, I would say has been a huge downfall in the bullpen regressing this year. Because Tim Heron, last year it was the big 4. It was Heron, Gaddis, Smith, Clase A. You had no problems getting to those 4 and winning the game. We'll talk about the Guardians trying to run down a playoff spot, and if they fall short, would it have been better for the Guardians to just draft positioning. We'll talk about that on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. Looking for some energy to finish this week? It is time to turn up and fuel up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. The grape, ginger, lime flavored shots brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. It is perfect for you to sink some birdies, make some fun memories with friends, a hole-in-one for your energy game. So if you're out on the course, need an extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green or chasing down the Bev card. I am not a good golfer, and there's very limited opportunities at this point in Cleveland to get some golf in at the end of the year. When I golf, I have to play scramble. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day. And even when I do play scramble, it's still a very long day. So I'm out there to have fun and hope nobody gets too mad at me. And I hope they have some energy. And if they need some energy, they should turn to 5-Hour Energy Transfusion because it helps them with making good memories, good times with good people, and good flavors. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip or two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee that trip up. Visit the number 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. And the NFL season, it is here. It is ongoing. And it's crazy so far. And FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, if you're a new customer, all you have to do is bet $5. And if your bet wins, you're going to get the best offer I've ever seen from FanDuel. $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That is a huge offer. All you got to do as a first-time customer is put down a $5 bet and put it down on something that has really easy odds, low money. And if you cash in on that bet, you get $300 more to have some responsible fun with. As for the Guardians on Thursday, it's Gavin Williams and Stephen Kolek. The over-under is 8 runs. The Guardians are favored by a 1.5. I am not taking the over in that game, given the Guardians' offense. Even though Stephen Kolek hasn't been good, these are two bad offenses. I'm not taking the over in that game. So, if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first ever $5 bet. Appreciate you all being here with us on today's Locked On Guardians, of course, making us part of your daily routine. We do love that. Shout outs to everybody I ran into at the captain's game on Tuesday. I think I ran into at least 3 more people who said hi, shout out, they love the show. Fortunately, just due to what I was doing and all the crazy names, craziness going on, I didn't get everyone's names. But if I talked to you at the captain's game on Tuesday, I certainly appreciate the love. And it was really fun to be there and chat with everybody. Hopefully it wasn't the last time, but it probably will be. But in the meantime, you can auto-download on audio to make sure you never miss an episode. And that helps us out a ton here on the show. And you can hit the bell on YouTube so you get reaction videos to every game, to every piece of news, as well as every episode. And the MLB Squad Show that comes back your way on Friday this week. So don't miss that one. All right, Jeff, the playoff. I also want to point 2 things out about this game before we get into playoffs versus draft. 2 things. Kyle Manzardo, that home run, majestic. It stunned the Guardians bench. I saw Tanner Pivey with some really fun reactions. I've really enjoyed this year how Kyle Manzardo has started to blossom into a middle-of-the-order hitter. They won't play him against lefties as much. And I know those couple home runs to start the year have inflated his OPS, but I'm excited to see where this goes because he now has 26 home runs, and this is, I think, as good a season as you could have hoped for from Manzardo. Didn't come without struggles, but it's been a lot of fun to watch him blossom into this type of hitter.
No, I agreed. It's probably the best development of the year, right? Like what he has done. It's like him or some of the starting pitching stepping forward. It's
Cantillo.
It's a big positive for a team that's had some ups and downs.
And I also want to throw out there, this might have been my favorite moment of the year. I think I can make this decision right now. If you watch the pregame show for the Guardians on Wednesday, Andre Knott, who I know everyone's got all kinds of opinions on, I've always been friends with the guy. That's neither here nor there. Did a segment on the pregame show with Jose Ramírez where he was able to speak English for the full interview. It's the first time I've ever seen that for him, especially on camera. I've seen, obviously, him speak English off camera and off the record, but I've never seen him do it on camera. And it was a great segment. It's just talking about being a leader, his play here, loving Cleveland, all that kind of stuff, teaching the young guys that kind of stuff. It was a great interview. It was just really fun to hear him do it in English. And I want to say this, I never expected him to do it. given his background, like Jose Ramírez, didn't finish high school. He didn't have a lot of schooling in the Dominican Republic. So, his Spanish may not be as good as other people's Spanish, let alone English. And I think learning English is very hard. I certainly don't know any Spanish. I don't know any other second language all that well, not to do it casually or on camera. But it was really great, and I was really proud to hear him do it in English without Augie translating for him. So it was just really great to hear and see him do that. And I think that's a big step for him. It's really fun for the fans, and it's really awesome for him. And like I said, he didn't have to do that, but he's gotten comfortable with it. And I think that means a ton. And I also want to point out, too, that he doesn't do that without trusting Andre Knott as well. So that's, a big piece of his job is getting these guys to trust him. But that was a really fun segment. And, as somebody who has been watching Jose Ramírez since he was 20 years old or 19 years old in Lake County, I'm almost really proud of him because I've been watching him play baseball for 13 years now. And to see him come that far with the language piece is huge.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that. I was out when the interview happened, but yeah, I mean, I remember those days in AA where Jose had a separate time on the board to go and do English. It's one of those things that he's always had the ability to communicate. He's worked at it. Yeah, he's worked at it, and I think there's that degree of any of us would have in terms of like just doing something don't feel super strong at. And yeah, it's fantastic that he is feeling comfortable. And again, however you feel about Andre, that it takes a special relationship to get someone like Jose out of his shell and to be comfortable in that situation.
Absolutely. All right, a little bit of time for this discussion. The Guardians, if they end up not making the playoffs, I could see this team finishing 81-81, honestly, or maybe 84 and whatever. That might sting a little, considering you're chasing down the final wild card spot, and I don't know what this team could do if they got it anyway, and ends up costing them draft positioning. I've seen some debate about whether or not the Guardians should be trying to run down a playoff spot because maybe they're not good enough to go to or be in the playoffs. They're not good enough to even do anything in the playoffs. So they should be focused on draft positioning. I would say, given the uncertainty of the draft, the Guardians lucked out with the 2024 first overall pick, right? They weren't supposed to be there. I would say, given the uncertainty of the draft, and given how this team has not been good with first-round picks in general, I really value the playoff push because you're getting guys, again, like Manzardo, like Cantillo, and other guys in this roster trying to chase down a playoff spot despite a very imperfect season. I would probably value that experience more. And just even if you squeak in as a third wild card and get knocked out, I would value that experience a lot more than I would just not caring about the final month of the season and trying to think about draft positioning. I would be thinking about playing guys for 2026. I'm already thinking about that between Capus or Valera, Manzardo, whatever. I'm thinking about 2026 in general, but I'm thinking about 2026 at the major league level and not the draft, as it were. So I think it's fine to chase down the third wild card spot, even if the hope is not big, and even if you don't think you're going to win in the playoffs. I'd rather have that experience, that push, as long as you're still being mindful of your major league roster in 2026 and not so much the draft positioning.
Yeah, I agree with you in general. I think the push is more valuable. And as we saw last year, multiple teams in the teens jumped into the top position. So who really knows how things are going to play out? The one thing I'll say is, well, yes, they've had their struggles with first round picks. I do want to cut them some slack. And I know people would be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. But it's like, there's a definite difference between, it's like, I did a radio show and someone's like, man, look at the Tigers. Can you imagine what it's like, to have all that talent? I'm like, well, you get to have all that talent when you've picked in the top 10, 5-6 years in a row, like the Tigers did for a time there. It's, top 15 and top 10 are even bigger differences. And yeah, they've had some misses in the first round. There's no way to sugarcoat it, but having those higher picks do lead to significantly different outcomes. So I would say that's the one thing where I'm like, well, if they're up high, it might yield something significantly different than what they've done.
Yeah, considering they're a 500 team or close to 500, I don't see how if they were going to be a 90-loss team, I maybe would feel different. And this team, for all intents and purposes, probably should be a 90-loss team, but somehow they're not. All right, Jeff, I've been waiting for this moment all show long. We're talking about two prospects that are playing in the AFL. One is trying to keep it going, and one we're going to see for the first time in a long time, and I couldn't be more excited to talk about it. Join us next on today's Locked On Guardians for more.
But first, we have to talk about a fantastic new sponsor, Nutrafol. Do I take off the hat? Do I put myself through this? You can see very easily why I wear a hat, right? The thinning hair, the things that aren't working well. I'm halfway to my 40s are halfway done. It's part of life. And, that's when you start looking at things like Nutrafol. And you've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and not sure. Like that actually works. There are so many products out there. It's hard to know which one are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. I love that it's science-based with the dermatologists. So see thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months. With Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB.
I had really high hopes for the Guardians Arizona Fall League contingent. We thought Travis Bazzana. We thought Angel Hinao, maybe Jason Churio. Pitching, I didn't think they were going to send a whole lot there to begin with. I didn't think they had any pitchers that missed significant time this year that made sense, or guys that had innings to give when it comes to October and November. But on the position player side, I was really excited, and I didn't expect them to have a pitcher of significance in the Arizona Fall League. But Jeff, he's back. The king is returning. Daniel Espino.
Roderick Mulrood? Oh.
Not even the right name. That's okay.
Multrude.
Daniel Espino making his return to the mound, facing hitters in a game that actually is going to count in terms of stats for the first time since the early parts of the 2022 season. I don't know that I have been as excited to watch a prospect come back or play baseball in general in this organization since the uprising of Jose Ramírez, when he started to become a name that people needed to know. And then Travis Bazzana. I was very excited about Travis Bazzana, obviously. I think we all should be, and the #1 pick. But I think this is the most excited I've been about a prospect in a long time. He's only playing the Arizona Fall League. We haven't seen him in 3 years, and I know we want to be careful with expectations. I don't want to set things too high, but we had heard good reports, right? We heard about him throwing hard again, throwing 100 in bullpens, from what I would say is a semi-reliable source. But the Guardians also have been saying, like, the recovery for Espino has been going well. Like, it's been good. He's been pain-free. He's throwing. They had a ramp down period, a ramp up back period, so he can go to the Arizona Fall League. I did not expect to see his name on the roster, but I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to be tuning into every surprise Saguaros game that I can, so I can see Daniel Espino pitch. I have been waiting for this moment for a long time, and I'm really just excited for him, given what he's gone through personally. The 2 surgeries, the comebacks. I know he lost his father during some of these surgeries and comebacks too. So it's been a very heavy 3 years for Daniel Espino, and always a great kid who worked hard, was great with the media back in Lake County, and everyone has always had really great things to say about his work ethic, his positive attitude through this entire trial of tribulations here. I'm excited for him to get back on the mound just for himself, but I'm excited to see what we haven't seen in so long. And I've got some theories I want to test out on you too about Daniel Espino's return.
Yeah, it's, he was a surprise on there. You and I texted a bunch when this kind of broke, and it's on a very basic level. I think kind of our general outcome view on a lot of it is that Bazzana wants to go to Driveline, so let him get his reps there. We don't know about Janau and Churio. Chase DeLauder gets to be a three-peat king of Arizona because he can't stay healthy. I mean, there's no other way around it. It's because he is he is the villain from the M. Night Shyamalan movie. His new nickname is Chase Mr. Glass DeLauder.
Yikes.
But I mean, if it's if it's true, like I know people get mad at me and say I'm negative, but it's like it's not negativity. It's what happens. But when you're looking overall, like the rest of it is kind of like, and Wilfredo Antuna is a little bit interesting too, just in terms of like he's played better as this year has gone on. He has been a prospect we've paid attention to. It's with Denholm and Nunez, I think it's a chance to get a little bit more of a look and see if there's something they want to hold on to or not. And then there's a lot of depth. But yeah, Espino is the blow your hair back guy. It's like DeLauder, he's already dominated this level. He's going to be old for the level. You don't see a lot of AAA guys going like it's just because he needs reps. But like Espino, there's something to prove. There's something to show. There's, the fact that he still exists and isn't just a figment of our imagination.
Yeah, I'm really excited for him to get back on the mound. And like I said, I'm going to watch every game I can. You can watch all these games too. They are streamed for free on MLB.com or MILB. There is an Arizona Fall League website. So if you want to tune into those games, you can do that as well. I can send anybody the link when it comes up. I know Arthur, who writes with me at Next Year in Cleveland, will have the link if anybody wants it too, if you want to find that out. But yeah, I'll be watching with bated breath. How about this? Daniel Espino is going to be 25 in January. He'll get all the options back. He'll get at least one more option back. The Guardians will get a fourth option year on him. They've had to use him because he hasn't gone on the IL. So
yeah,
they will get an extra option year on him because of all the time missed. And Andrew Kinsman, one of our listeners too, pointed out about Cantillo getting an extra option. I think possibly George Valera for this year too. So he might end up with an extra option too. But how about Daniel Espino, future Guardians closer? I think Daniel Espino deserves to insert himself, pitch his way into a significant role on this pitching staff for this organization, given what he's gone through, given how hard he's worked. I think we deserve it as Guardians media, fans, to see that from him, but also putting up with the things that the closer who will not be named has put us through this year. I think everybody deserves Daniel Espino, future all-star closer for the Cleveland Guardians. I think he deserves it. I think we deserve it. I think the fans deserve it. I think we all deserve that. What do you think?
I just want to see if they can tie his shoes without breaking his wrist before I bet on any future role. That's where I am. I'm going to take it slow. Like the pitch mix is there. Could he potentially be that? Sure, absolutely. But I just gotta. My heart's been hurt too much. I can't love quite yet. I can't go all in on him. But the potential is 100% there. I totally, I want to believe that can happen. I just got to see that he can hold up because we really haven't even seen it. Even like in his time in the minors was so curated and so, limited that we really just, I don't know yet. Yes. I know I'm a wet blanket. I know I'm Mr. Negative. I'm sorry.
I want to love again. I want to trust again. I do. It's funny that the DeLauder's going back for the third year. And like you said, it's just he needs reps because he keeps missing time. So it's funny that DeLauder is going to continue to play in the AFL. And it's like Espino finally is going to play. It's like two ships kind of passing in the night in some ways. I guess for DeLauder, it's just good that he's going to swing a bat, and you want to try to get some of those reps out of the way with the hamate thing because it takes time for that to come back. So I'd rather him get those reps this fall than have to come back to spring training and get that out of the way with the wrist injury. And for those who are asking, they were like wondering, does this mean DeLauder's not going to come up this year or he's not going to be back in Columbus? Yes, he is not coming back to Columbus or Cleveland this year. And Travis Bazzana not being in the AFL does not mean he's being called up either. He wants to work a driveline in the offseason. That's maybe a topic for another day about whether or not he should play the Arizona Fall. We can touch on that next week. Yeah, Alfredo Antuna is interesting. There is power there. He's got a good throwing arm. I know people aren't going to like this, but I have a lot of visions of Wilfredo Antuna as a Oscar Gonzalez, Jonathan Rodriguez type, where it's a great arm. He's not a great defender. There's power, but he's not consistent enough. We'll see. He's definitely a fringe 40-man guy. I thought there were other guys they might have wanted to look at in the Arizona Fall League before making a 40-man decision on him. But I mean, Angel now is getting added no matter what, right? Messick's already on there. Peterson's probably going to get added. You've got other guys that are on the fringes too. They didn't.
Does that mean DeLauder's at risk? Is he on the fringes?
Yes,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He's on the fringes of going back to the doctor, as always. Yeah. So, Antunias is probably the most interesting guy that we haven't talked about before in terms of health. Benjamin can hit a little as far as contact. He's got a great throwing arm. He's a solid defender. He can run. He's really a utility type, though. I really thought every team had to send a catcher. I'll have to look. Pretty sure I thought every team was required to send a catcher just because teams need depth. And they might still have to send a catcher. And they have a taxi squad. So the taxi squad is usually people who play like Sundays and Wednesdays or whatever it is. I forget what the dates are on that, but maybe they'll still send a catcher that way. And you said Denholm and Matt Jasek and Rorik Maltrud. You know, Zane Morehouse, that'll be interesting. Zane Morehouse should be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah.
But it's really going to be the Espino show and a little bit of Antunias, and obviously making sure DeLauder gets through that as well, healthy. But I'm excited. I'm excited for that, and I think everyone should be excited just to see Espino back on the mound personally, and we'll see what happens from there. You're right. I don't want to place too many expectations on him, but I can't help but hope and have that glimmer of just a little bit that something might be there, because I think we all deserve it. Let us know what you think in the comments. We'll touch more on the AFL in the future. I'll be back with you tomorrow on a Friday edition of Locked On Guardians. We'll talk Guardians Royals Game 4, not Game 3, Game 4. We will talk about the weekend ahead with the Chicago White Sox and the other scoreboard watching you need to do. And we'll talk about the gaps between AAA and the majors. I read an interesting article this year about the difficulty of transition between the two levels and how much the gap has grown. So tune in for a chat on that on Friday.
Again, thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. Leave an iTunes review. Leave a review wherever you listen. Put a comment below. Anything you want, and I will respond to it. Thank you all, and go Guardians.